So, let's continue with your models. The next thing, after we have modeled this lightsaber, uh, we are going to add some control loops. So I will introduce you a new tool called bevel, which will make our lightsaber uh, to be shown quite nicely if we turn on the smooth preview mode. So now if I'm pressing number 3 and entering the smooth preview mode, I can see that I'm not getting any sharp angles, although on my reference there is a lot of those sharp angles what I want to keep when entering into the smooth preview mode. So that's one thing, and the next thing what we are focusing on is rendering the lightsaber, and of course we are uh, trying to find if there is any overlapping faces on our mesh. Uh, but the first things first, as you can see, my camera is tilted a bit weirdly, so I want to fix that first. And how to fix it? It's pretty simple. So you just click your perspective camera active from the outliner, and as I said earlier, you can open the outliner from left down here, and now your perspective camera is active because it's highlighted on blue. And then you come back here to the channel box, and now we can see on translations that our rotations for the camera are a little bit offsetted, 21,959 degrees offsetted, what it should be. So I'm just painting these all rotation values to blue and then pressing 0 and pressing enter. And I'm actually doing the same thing for my translation values, so then I know that my camera will be in origin of the grid. And now my camera is again working normally. So if you encounter a problem like this, just select your camera and then zero out the values, and that should make your life easier. Next thing before we continue the modeling is that now when I click my P-cylinder 5 active, which should be actually named again, so I'm on the outline editor, I'm double clicking the mesh, so I can name it again, and it will be Saber Mesh. And if I'm looking here into the channel box, I can see that there is lots and lots of history. And more history state we have, uh, the heavier is the mesh, and that means also that more slowly our modeling tools will work. So I wanna delete the history from this mesh, so I go to the edit, delete by type, and history. And now I can see that there is no inputs anymore here, and I can continue the modeling. So if I toggle to the subdivided mode, and the subdivision 1 mode, or the smooth preview and hard edges. I think I want to keep these edges at least here on the top sharp, and I'm opening my modeling toolkit just underneath of the workspace menu. So clicking here, and then because I want to work with edges, I select the edge selection, and the first edge what I want to be sharp is this top edge here. And on right side of the extrude is tool called bevel. Now when I have selected my edge, I can press bevel, and you can see that now there is this one more extra edge created, and we get these polybevel options here. The most important options what we get here is the segments. So how many edge loops we want to add there. I could add there 2 more edge loops. And then the fraction value is how far apart are these added edges from the original selected edge. So I'm putting here, just to test it, 0.1. And now I can see the distance between these edges are now shrinking, but it's not shrinking enough, so I will be putting this value to 0.05 maybe. And now they are really close to each other, which means basically that if I'm turning at this point I'm pressing the Q to deactivate the polybevel tool, and now I'm pressing number 3, and I can see that now my corner is pretty sharp. I'm pressing the mouse's right so I can access to the object mode to see the uh, corner clearly. It's much more sharper now, but not 90 degrees, what is something what I'm aiming for. So that's good. So with adjusting the friction value, you can adjust how sharp it's going to be in the smooth preview mode. And now I'm going back to the edge selection and going to the next edge loop what I want to be sharp, or which I want to be sharp. And then I'm double clicking it and getting all the edges selected. And I can do the bevel again. And then I'm putting same values here. You can basically select all the edges where you want the same bevel at the same time and do the bevel for those. At the same time, but because there is going to be different poly bevel levels on my saber, I'm going to do this one by one, at least for this top part. Okay, and now I see that it's nice and sharp on my view here. The one thing actually what I forgot to do was cleaning the mesh. So before we add more bevels to this mesh, we can do the check if we have any stacked geometry. And as you remember, how to check that is you just go to the vertex selection mode. So I select this vertex selection from my modeling toolkit, and then I select all the pink dots, which are my vertices, and I can see here from the heads up display that I have 2284 vertices selected, and then I'm going to use the merge tool to clean it. So I'm going edit mesh up here, then the merge with the little square, and the merge vertices options pops up, and then there is this value 0.01, which is good for this case. If they are stacked, we don't want to stack anything else, or we don't want to merge anything else on our geometry. So now I press apply. Something was deleted, but I think it was my poly bevel. Yeah. So you have to be quite or when you are using this merge vertices, after you have merged those, you have to go and check if there is some or if it accidentally merges something what you don't want it to merge. But this is a good manner as well to clean your topology, so there won't be any stacked stuff. But yeah, now I'm doing again the poly bevels because now I'm sure that there won't be any stacked geometry. So up here, now I can actually, I'm pressing my mouse's right button and then I'm entering to the edge selection mode and double clicking these edges here, and actually I know that these edges are going to be as well with the same sharpness level as these. So I selected those all at once, and then I press here on my modeling toolkit bevel, and now I can see that okay, the fraction value should be 0.05, and then pressing tab and segments 2. So now it will be super sharp. Maybe even if I increase it a bit, 0.1. Yeah, that's probably enough. And then pressing Q to deactivate tool, and I'm pressing my mouse right on top of my mesh and going into object mode and pressing number 3 to see it. And yeah, 0.1 was enough for my mesh. Okay, and then I'm continuing adding the sharp edges for my saber. So pressing mouse right, entering back to the edge selection and double clicking these edges where I sure, or what I sure want to be nice and sharp. This, and adding this as well. And after that, again, pressing bevel from my modeling toolkit. And I don't want these to be different from the top part, so 0.1 and segments number 2, then pressing Q and just checking. Okay, looking nice. And actually I think I forgot one edge loop here. And now the hotkey what I haven't introduced you before is G, K. If you have done some operation and after that you are pressing G, it will make the same operation again. So I can speed up my workflow a bit by pressing G because the bevel was the last tool I used. So now I pressed G and then I right away get the poly bevel activated. And then I'm adding the values here. But actually this one needs a bit more or a bit lower fraction value like this. Yeah. And pressing Q again. And probably that's enough for that. Yeah. Okay. Then the next part for my saber. Let's see. Yeah. I definitely want to add some control loops here, but maybe not necessary for these edges. Let's see. Okay, I will select that edge loop, and of course you will know on your own model where you want to add those bevel loops, so you don't have to necessarily follow values what I put in, but I will add some values here, or maybe I can either select the bevel tool from here, or then I can press G to get it work on here, and then segments 2, and let's see. Yeah, it's looking sharp and nice. Then maybe I want to add bevels here. For all these ones. Like in between, and then I'm pressing bevel, and actually I'm quite happy with the default, so I'm not changing anything. And let's see. Okay, and this is maybe how I will left my this part, because I think I will apply some rubbery or rubber material to this part, so these valleys here will be super sharp, and then the peaks are kind of not that sharp. So sharpness matters as well when you are planning what materials you are going to add to your model. Okay, then continue with the bevel, and probably putting here something like this. Oh, 23 segments, that's no good. So that's why you have to press always Q before adding anything. And actually, one thing what I want to add here is one loop with the multicut. Just right here. And after that, I'm going to select this new phase loop here, like this. I'm doing extrusion, pressing R, and because I don't want to scale this on y-axis, so on height-wise, I want to scale this with this y-axis and pressing Control so I can get it nicely in there. So I basically hide it, and then I will select this edge loop here, creating a new bevel there. 0.05 and with 2. So now this is just a matter of taste, but I want that this rubber part will end up in this quite deep peak, so it will be divided from the other. Yeah. And then continuing with this is going to be metal, so just adding bevel there, just a normal one. 0.1 and 2. That will be great. Then the next bevel is around here. These can be applied all with the same bevel, but 0.1 and 2, or actually in this case I think the 1 is enough. Yeah. And let's see. Yeah, 1 is enough for that. And by the way, if you have some object which goes under, or you have to go under the grid to look at it, you can come up here. Under the show there is this grid icon, and if you click the grid icon you can hide it. For most of the cases you can just hide it and not mind it, but the thing where the grid is useful is showing where is your origin, and usually you want to keep everything somehow near the origin. So that's why I feel the grid is useful to show where is my scene origin, but sometimes it's on a way and then you can just hide it from there. And then back to the edge selection by pressing mouse's right and selecting edge. And here I'm going to add bevel to these ones. 8.1 and 2. And okay, it's nice. And actually here in the bottom I cannot select whole edge loop, because here where is these extruded forms, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 edges merging in one vertex, and from this is called directional chains. So always when over 4 edges are connecting, it's called directional chains, and usually you don't want to connect over 5 edges at the same point. And long story short, you cannot select the whole loop when you have directional changes on your edge loop. I don't actually know why, probably some mathematical reason behind this. Yeah, I cannot describe it better, but then we just have to click this with shift pressed down, and then we get all of those selected, and we can add, actually we are going to add the same bevel for the bottom and top part of this. And then I'm as well adding the same bevel for these ones. So lots of clicking. And here actually is good example. If you have hole of some kind, you can just also add bevel there. But because I think the fraction value will be different from these bevels, we want to do that separately. But let's look at it in a second when we get all of these edges selected. And now I think I have selected everything, hopefully. And then just bevel. And it looking quite nice. Yeah. So I'm adding second segment there, and let's see. Yeah, I don't have to actually change the fraction value at this point. So pressing Q, and of course straight away I go to see how it looks. It looks very nice. And next thing what I'm going to do, by pressing mouse right, entering to the edge selection and double clicking and selecting these edges of the hole and bevel, and fraction value I will be set up to be 0.2 and segments 2, and now it looks more sharp, more prettier as we want it to be. And then there is these two edges left. And bevel for this is going to be 0, 20, and segments probably 2. And let's see. Yeah, now it's looking nice. And most of the saber is done already. Then we have some buttons here, so let's see. Okay. These need bevel as well. And let's see how we should do with these ones. Okay, I'm just going to worry about this basic shape here first. So making that sharp, I don't actually need to use bevel. I can use the multicut tool to do manually some of the control loops. So I'm selecting here my multicut tool. So this depends on the case. You will, when you have more modeling experience, you will quite fast see where you need to use bevel, where you can just use the multicut to get away with it. So now I select the multicut tool here and pressing Control. Just add one loop there, and here I'm going to add another loop like this. And now if I'm pressing number 3, I get quite nice result with only that. And then with the multicut tool activate it again, and then I'm pressing Control. I'm going to add here and here a loop, and here and here, there as well. And now if I look at it, oops, yeah, it's sharp enough. So I didn't need to use the bevel. And then at this point, I recommend highly that you save. So press Command S. So we don't lose any of those works. And then with the triangles, I have to actually select every edge, and then I need to bevel that. And the fraction value should be quite small, 0.02, yeah, and segments, or it can be actually 0.05, and segments 2, and then same for the another triangle. Selecting everything, yeah, bevel 0.05 was it, yeah, and 2, And now when we are watching it, it will keep those nice and sharp. And here, this will be more interesting case, these buttons. And actually there is okay. Here seems to be few extra vertices. As we can see, we have vertices here which are not connected to the edge. So I'm quickly deleting these whole faces here. So I can delete the vertices as well. And then I'm going to the edge mode and just bridging those. And now I'm pressing G, so I'm doing the same operation again. And I'm cleaning the topology. And now I can actually try to do the bevel here, so I have to select all of these edges like this, all around of the button. And then I press bevel. And the fraction value should be around 0.25. Yeah, that looks decent. But the thing here is that now when we have used the bevel without or out of the loop, so here when we did those bevels, the bevel went kind of all around it and it ended to itself. So it automatically connected all of those 4 or 2 extra edge loops. But here it won't do that. It will do n-gon. N-gon is polygon or n-gon is polygon which has more than 4 edges or 4 vertices. And it's absolutely not allowed to do n-gons ever because they causes all kind of problems. So now we can actually use the multicut tool to solve this problem. So I will highlight all the faces what are currently n-gons. This, this, and this. So those I will be fixing next. I'm selecting the multicut tool, and the thing what I'm doing here is that I go on top of this vertex and I click there, and if Maya doesn't crash, no, okay. I click there once with my mouse's left button and then I click here and I get edge between these 2 points, and when I press enter it will allow edge to be there. And now it's connected, and I have made one n-gon to be triangle, so I have to do this as well for the other point. Like this. Although this looks like now that there is more stuff and it looks even more scrambled, it's actually even better than the n-gon, because we have divided this. It was 7-sided or 5-sided. We have divided it into triangles. So triangles are much easier to compute for Maya. So this is something what you should remember. No n-gons. If you don't have the chance, turn n-gon to be a normal polygon. So 4-sided, you should turn it triangles. But yeah. Because of our limited time resource, I won't be fixing these n-gons, but this is something what you should be aware of while you are modeling. So back to the edge mode, and I'm pressing Q to deactivate my multicut tool. And then again, selecting these edges and adding bevel there. So that's the n-gon thing is something what you should be aware of when you are using the bevel tool. It will pretty easily make those. And then you have to do all the cleanup. So maybe something like this with the screw, and then those as well. Then just bevel. Yeah, that will be okay. And okay. So this is basically what I'm satisfied with this modeling, and this is going to be my high poly model for the lightsaber, and I'm going to save at this point. Next thing what I'm going to do is that I'm going to start render. For this model, we are not using the UVs. We are going to do that later on during these software studies, but now we are just applying Arnold basic or preset materials for this lightsaber and get it rendered out nicely. Okay, so first thing actually what I'm do before I'm start to apply materials, I'm turning this 90 degrees, and as you remembered, if you come up here next to these rendering options, you can open the small transformation or exact transformation palette, and there on x-axis I want to turn this minus 90 degrees actually. Yeah. So like this. Then I'm opening my channel box, and I can see that I have lots of history there. So I'm going to be cleaning that history, pressing edit, delete by type, history. Now it's clean. And after that, to see something, I have to add few lights for the scene. So now you have to open this Arnold tab here, as we did yesterday. And on the Arnold tab, this create area light here on the left, the first icon on this tab on left, we are going to create area light. and it's going to be in our origin. I'm pressing W, moving this to the end of my saber, and pressing R so I can scale it. And the thing what I had to be aware of, as you remember yesterday, is the stick or the pointy end of my area light, which shows the direction of the light. And then I'm pressing Shift D to copy it and moving it to the other side and pressing E and turning it here. And actually I'm going to copy it once more, pressing Shift D, then pressing W and moving it up, and pressing E and rotating it down, and W and moving it here. And for this uplight I want to scale it a bit by pressing R, but now I'm going to scale it only on y-axis. So this is local y-axis, that's why it's oriented here. And now I have 3 lights on my saber, and if I render it now, I'm not getting anything because the intensity of my lights is quite low. So I have to open the attribute editor, which is found here, this icon, and here is the intensity of my light. So I will be putting, maybe let's try 500 if we can see something. Yeah, 500 does something. Let's try even 1000, a little bit more. And then I'm selecting here from my outliner my other lights to be active here in the attribute editor, and intensity 100 doesn't do much, 1000 does more, and then the light 1 selected, and it will be 1000 as well. Maybe this top light will be 2000. Okay, then I'm turning the camera. Yeah, looking nice there. But actually this material what we have currently on, it's Maya's default material, and it's not going to be rendered out nicely here in the Arnold renderer. So we have to start applying new materials for our sword. I'm going back into the lowest subdivision level, so I'm pressing number 1 on keyboard, and then next thing what I'm doing here, because we don't have any texture maps, we are going to apply the materials on certain faces. So that's why I'm entering to the face mode. So I'm pressing my mouse right, going into the face mode, and I want this top part of my saber to be kind of bronze. So I'm selecting all the faces what I want, which I want to be bronze, like this. And now this face is selected, I go on top of them and pressing mouse's right down, and then okay, I'm going to move this a bit up so you will see my mouse is right down and coming here down, and here is assign new material, and then we get this assign new material tab, and I'm going to click here Arnold, and after that I'm going to click here I standard surface, and immediately you see that it's going to be change the color of the top part of the shaper. Then here in the attribute editor, I'm going to rename this because I will have multiple materials on the same mesh. I don't want to be confused if I need to replace some faces later on. So this will be bronze SHD, and then I'm going to click here from the presets to get list open, and if I remember correctly, I should have bronze here or not. Well, then I can use copper as well with that. And now we can actually render and see, yeah, it's pure copper at the moment. Looking pretty nice. And then I'm continuing for the next part. So face selection again. And then I'm actually jumping into side view. So I can select this more carefully. So all these faces, and now I actually selected faces that I don't want to be included. So I'm pressing shift down and then painting or dragging over those again. So that's how I can get rid of those or that selection. And yeah, all of this is selected, all of that is selected. And if I want to get these faces selected here, I can actually use this button. So if you want to increase your selection, you will use this button with shift. I don't know the correct name of this, but all of you know this button with shift. It will increase the current selection. But it increases also this way. So that's why I'm pressing shift down and then doing the tracking selection again. So I'm deleting that selection. Okay. And again, on top of this new selection area, pressing mouse right down and selecting here assign new material. Coming here to the Arnold section, I standard surface selected. And this is going to be rubber SHD. And then from the presets, I have rubber, replace. And now if I render this out, I have rubber there. The thing what I can do is I can press, no, I'm going to change this subdivision to the number or smoothed surface, and then if I render it again, it will be there. The rubber part, and actually if I want to modify the color of the rubber, I can come here on top of my attribute editor, and here is the small arrow where I can find my wrapper tab. If I selected it and then press here base, I can change this color to be more black, what I probably want it to be. So yeah. Although those are default materials, you have access to modify basic colors and roughnesses and metalness values. So even if you are working with texture maps or advanced texturing, you can get advanced of using these preset shaders and then modifying those for your own needs. So that's good to keep in mind. Okay, now I have the rubber part, and then for the rest of the saber, I'm probably going to apply on the face mode the, or not the all, but it's easier at this point to select all. And when all of these faces are selected, I'm pressing mouse's right again down and assign new material. And Arnold, my standard surface. And this is going to be brushed metal. SHD. And then from the presets, I'm selecting brushed metal and replace. And now let's see, I'm modifying this a bit, but for the most part, there is the saber. Probably I want to add around here black metal, but before that, we are still going to apply background for our saber. So there it is, our saber. I enter it into object mode because I'm not modifying anymore the faces, and then I'm just pressing space down and selecting create polygon primitives and plane. And the plane is quite low now, but first, before I move it anywhere, I'm going to scale it a bit up, and then I'm moving it onto the level of my saber. Let's see. Okay. I jump it to the side view where it's easier to see how my saber is aligning with the ground, and actually it seems that I need to bit tilt this saber to be aligned more nicely with the ground. Yeah, now it looks correct. And then, because we added something where the light will reflect, the rendering time will go up a bit, I think. Yeah. Okay, bit, but not quite hugely. So I don't want that there is anything black on my scene, so I'm just scaling this up. And to get better idea how our rendering image is looking, we have this one icon here, which is called film gate. If we are turning this film gate on, we get the view or the cropped view what our rendering or rendering will consist. So this is like looking through the point viewer of the camera, or the viewer of the camera, and now we can adjust it more closely. Okay, it's there, quite nice. And the next thing, what we didn't adjust before, is that if I'm now selecting the area light, or some of my area light actually, I come down here into my attribute editor, there is colors, what I can modify, or I can give color for my light if I want to. And then I will increase the intensity of this light. Maybe decrease it a bit. And if you want to increase your rendering time and get better results for your saber, it was up here, the glove board and the gear. If you press it and then select Arnold Renderer, tap here, and then add here, maybe. Let's try 5, 3, 3, 3. Then close it. Let's see if we get any better result without grain. Okay, some amount of grain is definitely removed. But not all, so it's you to just tweak these values, how long it will be render. Okay,